Recording has started. And this is the future Javier, Michael Regilio, and Matt Robinson coming to you from an AI dystopian future. Um, we have uploaded this into the cloud and you are now seeing it. If you are watching this, something has gone horribly wrong.
Man, you're making me think of that movie. What was it called? Iron Eagles. If you listen into this tape, that means things must have gone pretty wrong. Anyway, does anyone remember that movie? Anyway, no, apparently not. Louis Gossett Jr. All right, I'm going to start the show. And welcome to, I'm going to call it a very special episode of Regilio v. Everything, because I'm calling this episode, do you guys see what I've called it up here? Do you see the title?
The
Hot tub diplomacy, yeah.
Hot tub diplomacy, because I have with me none other than my old debate partner, Black Republican / Black MAGA, even though he claimed I talked him out of voting for Trump in 2024. He went ahead and voted for Trump anyway. The one, the only, Mr. Javier.
Woo! Say it twice. What's going on?
And also joining us is my friend and sometimes debate partner, Mr. Matthew Brandon Robinson.
Got a middle name.
Hello, 3 names. Say it 3 times.
You might remember Matthew. Did we debate twice on that one topic that I'm sure you don't want to bring up again because I think
I'm interested.
We did. It was twice. The first time was more of a debate. The second time was more of a discussion.
I see. Matthew, in case you don't know, so I've introduced Javier appropriately as a MAGA conservative. Matthew is the most dyed-in-the-wool, ardent, fence-sitting, middle-of-the-road, undecided human being in the world, and he could not decide if Donald Trump was a fascist or not, so we debated it once officially and discussed it once. I don't know if he's come to a conclusion on that or not. Maybe we'll get to the bottom of that. But the reason we are here today is that Javier was in Los Angeles, California on vacation not long ago. And of course, we wanted to get together and hang out because I absolutely love this guy. So we went to a residence in the Silver Lake Hills that I happened to be staying at, doing a little dog sitting. And they had a beautiful hot tub. And we cracked open a few White Claws, sat in a hot tub for what felt like hours and hours and hours. And because we're of that ilk, talked politics the whole time. And it was a great discussion. And we were all saying to ourselves, I wish we'd recorded this. Although the sound of a hot tub going in nonstop in the background. And as we got a little bit loose with the White Claws, probably was a good thing that we didn't record it. But we did find that we are 3 guys that have a lot to say about a lot of things. So with that, why don't we start with you, Javier, because the listeners to my program will certainly remember you, and certainly they might even remember that going into 2024, you and I had it out pretty vociferously, and you said, you know what? I think you said, did you give me credit? Maybe not, but I remember, in my egotistical memory, I remember you saying, you know what, you've convinced me I'm not going to vote for Trump or something like that. But certainly At the end of the conversation, you said, I'm not voting for Trump, but you did. And I think it's for what I would have to say is close to the worst reason I've ever heard in my life. But Javier, why don't you tell us why you voted for Donald Trump? Because I'm so curious about that still.
Absolutely. I think when we last spoke, I think I had landed on the fact that I probably would just sit it out. Like, you convinced me, because I wasn't going to vote for Kamala Harris. And I was erring on the side of voting for Donald Trump. And then at the end of the conversation, I believe I was like, I think you convinced me enough that I should just sit it out and not vote at all. And then life happens. And I start realizing there are a lot of people who don't understand politics to the same extent as somebody like me or you, or Matt, who pays attention and actually thinks about these things, are going out and voting. And a lot of people that I vehemently disagree with were voting for Kamala Harris. And I thought to myself, well, shit, why would I just sit back and let them go vote and sit completely out of it? And I ultimately ended up deciding to vote for Donald Trump Now, it was clear that I wasn't going to vote for Kamala Harris, and I admitted the fact that I think a lot of people didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she was a woman. And I also assumed that a lot of black guys didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she was a black woman. Because if she would have got voted in, if black men thought they had it bad with black women now, oh, we were never going to hit the end of it.
I cannot believe it, even now, as the words come out of your mouth, that you didn't vote for her because you didn't want to deal with what you perceived to be the attitude you would get from black women.
Oh, yeah. And I'm married to a black woman. Mm-mm.
So you voted for the corrupt, compromised, convicted criminal, civilly found liable for sexual assault, lying, low character, moron, fascist Donald Trump because you didn't want your wife to what exhibit some sort of pride in her in a fellow black woman.
I did it more for my fellow black men than I did it for my relationship personally. Like in my
Would you
relationship,
say
I'm fine.
who's done more for the black community? You or Martin Luther King doing that, Javier?
I'm not gonna compare myself to Martin Luther King, but no, it's so many different levels on why a person should vote and why they should vote a certain way. And I think a lot of times we assume that people are voting for the same reasons we're voting for, right? And I imagine if you live in LA, what you prioritize might be different than what I prioritize being here in Georgia. Um, but also with online being the way it is, people argue about these things all day, every day. But there's a lot of stuff going on culturally and locally that people are dealing with on a regular basis that weighs into how people vote. And I think me bringing up this fact will highlight some of those nuanced local things that individuals are dealing with and why they choose to vote a certain way. Some people only voted because of abortion, right? Then you got some people who vote for the culture. It has nothing to do with foreign policy. Then you got some people that vote for foreign policy. But to kind of bring the scope in, uh, you listed off a lot of things that Donald Trump is, right? And I don't see how any of that has anything to do with who you vote for. I mean, if we look throughout history, most of the
Oh,
leaders of most
Javier.
countries have been pieces of shit. I mean, Alexander the Great conquered the known world back then. You think he was a nice guy? Hitler ended up in power. Like, it's never been
Wait,
beyond people to vote
I
in
feel
bad
like you're
ways.
making the
Michael.
argument against Trump. You're comparing him to Hitler and saying
No,
he got elected. Why not
yeah,
Trump?
I'm just saying that being a bad guy does not disqualify you from having power.
You
There's a
hear
lot
that
of bad guys.
sound? That's me creaking off the fence, Michael, to come to your side a little bit, to go against
Come on,
Javier.
come on.
Okay,
I think
Matthew,
it'll
let's
become
hear it.
clear.
It's hard for me. Okay, so the idea that like politicians or leaders don't have to be great guys, sure. But even take like the worst example on the Democratic side, who I don't know, let's say Bill Clinton, someone who let's just say has a lot of ethical failings, or Richard Nixon even. Yes, these are morally compromised people, people whose ethics are compromised in some way. But compared to Donald Trump, there's a certain line that Nixon would not cross, that Trump has crossed many times. For example, in 1964, it was found that there was credible evidence that there was voter fraud in Illinois and Texas. And Nixon sat on the tarmac and said, I'm not going to pursue this because the presidency is bigger than me.
I think that was
Now,
1960, but you're right.
sorry,
Mhm.
1960. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. 1960. Yes. No, 1964 was LBJ. Sorry. Thank you. But yeah, but to the point, 1960, and even Bill Clinton. Yes, Bill Clinton. Obviously, a litany of ethical failings there. But again, there's certain lines that him and Hillary have not crossed. That again, Donald Trump has crossed many times over. And this is the argument I always hear from people who are Donald Trump supporters. Are like, well, Nancy Pelosi's made all this money trading stocks. Oh, Joe Biden, how did he become so wealthy? Oh, Bill Clinton, obviously corrupt. Yes, there's certain kind of level of ambient corruption that exists within Washington. But again, Trump is so cynical that he goes far forward. He blazes past
Mm,
that. So in that
mm,
idea, I think ethics does matter because it goes from being like murkily, like kind of like more ambiguous in your morality to being purely transactional and seeing everything as a transactional means to an end and just seeing everything as pure power.
yeah, it is pure power. It has always been pure power. Politics is not a moral thing.
Well, I mean, look, of course, there are different theories about what politics are. There's more optimistic theories and there's more pessimistic theories. And yes, politics sometimes is the execution of pure power. But even within that reality, look, maybe this is something, if I come over to my conservative friend's side, that maybe the reason conservatives do not like liberals is because liberals claim to be above, but they exert power politics the same way conservatives do. So that may be true. There are just certain lines. I will take the greatest, let's say the greatest political villains in American history, your Nixons, your Clintons. There are certain lines that they just do not or did not cross that Trump has crossed many times over. There's just certain layers of corruption, certain executions of pure transactional, pure power that Clinton, Nixon did not just pass. I mean, I was saying earlier that in 1960, Nixon had credible evidence of voter fraud in Illinois and some less credible evidence in Texas. And he sat on the tarmac and said, I'm not going to prosecute this because no man's above the presidency.
Yeah.
Compare that with Donald Trump, January 6th, whether it was incitement or not, that's a legalistic argument. He definitely did not tamper things down, definitely did not pursue the presidency after he lost to Joe Biden and caused immense harm to this country and immense destabilization to this country. I cannot imagine the Clintons. And yes, I know people are going to throw up the thing about Hillary Clinton claiming the Russians intervened in 2016. How that somehow is equivalent to what Trump did? It's not, in my opinion.
Well, they did.
Well, I mean, but like that's why she lost in 2016. I think she was claiming. Sorry. She claimed in 2016. Well, I mean, but
That he was still like, even if you think you won, they could steal it from you. Like she was
point is,
making those
the
statements.
point is that there's people on the right who point to Russian interference in 2016 and how somehow that invalidated the election against Trump and also the faithless electors. So
Yeah,
people will point to that as being equivalent to what Trump did. I'm just
it's
saying
not.
it's not.
It's not. It's not. Look, I know that Michael introduced me as like MAGA or whatever, but I'm not MAGA at all. Like I may have been at one point, but I'm not looking at this from a left or right perspective, honestly. I think kind of where I start off is more leaning towards the right based on how I kind of view the world. But for the most part, it's not a left or right. Like I would agree with you 100%. I think Donald Trump is more corrupt than probably most politicians I've known since I've started paying attention to politics. I'm well, the reason I say it's not a political thing, I truly believe that politics is the art of persuasion. That's all politics
Mhm.
really is. Can you convince enough people to give you power? That's really all it is. It doesn't say anything morally at all. Now, ideally, do we want somebody with good intentions and good morality running the country? I guess, but I'm not really coming at it from that perspective. I'm more interested in the outcome. I care less about the process. I care more about the outcome. Like if a bad person did a very good thing, I would still be happy for that good thing, even if a bad person gave it to me. And that's kind of how I come at it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
uh, let's say that was your thinking going into this election and why you ended up ultimately voting for Donald Trump, besides the fact that you didn't want your wife to have one up on you. But that said, here we are a year and several months into his presidency. It seems like to most people that I talk to on the right and the left that it's been a disaster. How are you feeling about it now?
I mean, it's a disaster. It's always gonna be a disaster. I kind of hope for the disaster. Like, the thing that really gets me and with a lot of people is everybody expects everything to be good all the time. People are always hoping for the best, but sometimes bad is good. Like, um, Americans have gotten too privileged. Americans complain about gas prices and the cost of eggs, and like there are people in third world countries who are suffering and struggling on a day to day basis who find happiness with their family and their friends around them. We have every opportunity in this country. Not only do we have every opportunity, but we have cell phones, we have AC. Like people will never be fully satisfied until they really know how bad things can get. And Americans have lost their way. Like I ask people all the time about the war in Iran. It's like they're saying, "Oh, we shouldn't go to war with Iran or whatever." But nobody ever gives me a justification to go to war. I haven't heard anybody make a justification for what would cross the line for America to invade another country and start killing their leaders and stuff like that. There has to be a scenario which you can give me that you say, you know what, I would choose war in that circumstance. War is inevitable. You can't avoid war at all times, but nobody wants to give me the reason why we should go to war. But everybody has a million reasons why we should never go to war, and that's just not the way the world works.
Okay, let's break that down one at a time because those were some interesting points. It sounds to me like you are trying to vote your like tough love onto Americans, like that you think hard times is a good, like it's that that meme you see that hard times make strong men, strong men make good times make weak men,
yeah.
weak men, or whatever.
Yeah.
That you're saying that you want hard times because it'll make people love their families more or something like that. That
No,
that we
it's a
should be more
reality
like a
check.
third world country because
No.
people.
I just need a reality check. That's it. We need to speed this thing along. We're already headed for calamity. Presidents have been like Matt. You listed a bunch of things that Donald Trump did compared to what other politicians have done. But let's rewind to 2008 or 2010, before there was a Donald Trump on the scene, making all of this political, stuff that we argue about today. Those were the worst things being done back then. Before you could point to Donald Trump and say he's even worse. At some point, what they were doing were the worst, and we accepted it. We allowed
I mean,
it.
are you talking like specifically about like Barack Obama bailing out the banks instead of the mortgage, the mortgage owners who were underwater? I mean, what specifically are you referring to that was the worst thing that happened?
I mean, we can refer to many different things. Like Obama probably deported way more people than any other president before him. Nobody was complaining and crying about that, regardless of the fact
But that was a
Right,
statistical sleight of hand. Like it was a statistical sleight of hand because it was people who came to the border who were turned away. So the calculate like it was a different calculation than what the Trump administration other presidencies have used. So yeah, I mean, yes, he was strong on the borders, sure, and I mean, you can bring
and
up
he
the
drone
droning.
strike. Yeah, I mean, like there are always going to be. You can always make the argument that there are presidents who have done actions of war that didn't get approval from Congress, right?
Well,
Not like
And
this.
Well,
hold on.
that's what
Let's,
I'm saying.
I want to
Okay.
slow down a tiny bit because
before we get to Trump, I'm talking about before Trump entered the scene. Before we even was thinking about Donald Trump, there were things being done that you could argue at the time, this is worse than it's ever been. He's crossing lines that haven't been crossed before.
Well, to your point, and I will. Oh, go. Sorry.
Yeah, when Bush did his whole thing with 9/11 after invading, that time that was the worst thing a president has done. And guess what happened?
Specifically? That he invaded Afghanistan and Iraq?
On a lie, based on a lie with the weapons of mass destruction.
Well, Gulf of Tonkin was a lie. Now we know too that we went into Vietnam based on a lie.
You see what I'm saying? But what I'm saying, before there's a Donald Trump, we're looking at these things. There are people living with these consequences on a day-to-day basis. And at that time, that was the worst thing a president has done. And then another president came and did something worse or did something similar. And we accepted it. We allowed it. Now all of a sudden, when another president comes in and he goes even further, now you want to pull the brakes? Now you want to stop it?
Well, I mean, you can point to the killing of Abdulrahman al-Awlaki, who was an American citizen that Trump did, and people have made this argument that yes, Trump assassinating Khomeini is just another line in that progression. So look, there is an argument that this is more systemic, and the strongest steelman argument I've heard that defends Trump is that systemic argument that like American executive power has been trending in this direction for a while. So you have to put some of the blame on Bush and Obama for expanding this power, and Trump just pushed it further. And maybe Trump has pushed it further more than someone else would have, but it's less him and more the system. Is that kind of the argument you're making?
Yeah. Like, to me, before there's a Donald Trump, there are already problems that we should have put to a stop before it even got this far. But yet, we kept going. We kept chugging along. Who decides what the limit is? How far is too far before you decide, all right, this system is broken and we got to do something drastically different?
But it seems like they're completely rewriting history. You're saying that George Bush went to war. Well, for one, he got congressional approval. He even got a mandate from the UN for doing it. But that said, we were in the streets. You understand that? Progressives were in the streets protesting that war every hour of every day. We were completely upset about that. And in fact, I'll go so far as to say progressives were also protesting the drone warfare and the assassination policies of Barack Obama in his fighting the war on terror as well. And that progressives also were very upset about Barack Obama going in and bailing out the banks. As Matthew said, the entire Occupy Wall Street movement was coming from the left. So it's the same people have been upset the entire time. So when right-wingers go, oh my God, Obama did this and you guys didn't say anything. Yeah, we did. Bush did this and you didn't say anything. Yeah, we did. And now Trump is doing far worse and we're saying even more. So it seems to me like we're incredibly consistent. What it seems to me is
it comes down well, I think that's the difference between ideological people and like people who are partisan. Because yes, it is true progressives have been consistent. I will say libertarians have been consistent on this as well. Like if you listen to any libertarian talk about the drones during Obama, and like they've been very critical of Trump as well, even though some of them did vote for Trump. I think it's more of a partisan issue because I think it's when the partisanship comes in and you have people who are more Democrats and they are progressive, then it comes back to team politics, and you're defending your side, and that's when you're defending Obama at the expense of
Yeah.
your principles.
Obama is still beloved. He's still beloved. Like,
Rightly so.
yeah, okay. And none of the bad stuff that you would agree that he has done would change that, right? Like, the left still
Well, no,
accept him broadly, right?
these are the low grades he gets on his report card.
But he's
Bailing out
still
the bank, he
beloved.
gets a D minus.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
he's still beloved, right? He still is welcome. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right, because you judge him on the whole, because he served 2 terms and we're judging him on the whole. That said, I think the greatest difference is not between the corruption of the presidents, because I don't think you can compare Barack Obama and Donald Trump. They're not even in the same league. Donald Trump is a world-class the all-time goat of corruption
Yeah, but
and lies. And Barack
but,
Obama, I don't even know
Michael,
that of course he allowed
Michael,
dark money and corporate
but
donations.
this
Hold
was
on, let me
before
finish.
Trump.
Huh?
This was before Trump. I'm
Right,
trying to
right.
bring you
I
to a
don't- but
place
I don't
before
understand
Trump
the
even
comparison.
entered what I'm saying is there is an arch throughout history of the government growing in size and doing things that the general public don't agree with, or making decisions that the general public doesn't agree with, right? Like, there has been a growing trend of people in power exercising that power in ways that we wouldn't agree with. And the government keeps going down that path. Eventually, it's going to lead to worse and worse and worse abuses of power, because it has been growing in that direction over time. I'm only pointing out the fact that
I don't understand your point.
this
So
is an
therefore you support
acceleration.
it. But what the real difference is the base. That the base on the left is becoming less and less tolerant of these things. We were not tolerant with bailing out the banks. We were not tolerant with the drone strikes of Obama. We were not tolerant with the unprovoked war in Iraq with George W. Bush. And on the right, you guys are becoming more and more and more tolerant with terrible things. You're tolerant with abject corruption. Donald Trump literally has a meme coin right now where any foreign interest can give the president of the United States an untold amount of money directly into his bank account, and then he reacts. He sells pardons, literally pardons to criminals for $1 million a pop. You guys have out and loud and proud Nazis, people who support Hitler in the party now. And you guys have become tolerant of corruption, of anti-Semitism, you name it.
I think you're giving. I mean, look, there's fissures within MAGA. Look, I think we have to be fair with the Republican Party and MAGA itself. Look,
who's paid a price for these things? Who's paid a price for the corruption? Who's paid a price for the fact that there's a faction, particularly amongst the young people, of Hitler worship in MAGA?
I'm not denying
no one's
it's there.
paying the price. They're being rewarded for turning a blind eye to it.
This is not an indictment.
Are you being the politicians or being rewarded for turning a blind eye?
Let's see what happens.
Let's just see what happens let's just see what happens in the midterms. I mean, look, a lot of this remains to be seen. Look, I have no love with the current Republican Party right now. Like, to me, I'll throw on my centrist hat. Like, I'm probably going to vote Democrat for the foreseeable future, because whatever issues I have with the Democratic Party, they pale in comparison to what I see on the right now. But I have to be fair. Like, people who I've talked to who are MAGA, some of them have left Donald Trump because of the Epstein stuff, because of the Iran stuff. There is a fissure with, I mean, the Nazi thing, yes, that's problematic, but there is a fissure there right now. So you can't say the entire Republican Party has been consumed by this. Yes, it's an issue. It's like termites within the fucking, within the house, and it's a big problem. But there's really you have fissures in both sides too. Like, you talk about the base, the progressive base, calling, liberal hypocrisy to task. Yes, that is true. And the progressive, let's say, Mamdanius kind of AOC wing does have power, but you're also competing against kind of like the centrist, normie kind of APAC Democrats. I mean, what was that one race in Illinois? Kat, I'm going to butcher her name.
Yeah.
She was kind of the new Mamdani, and she lost to like a squishy centrist dude who had APAC. So I think both parties have their own issues, and they have both their fissures that they're trying to navigate through. I think the Republican Party seems to be like more in the Civil War mode. Maybe that's because that's being amplified because liberals want to see that.
The Republican Party is not a civil war. There's a few influencers like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson who are making a lot of noise, but majority of the Republican base is not with them. That's not what the polls show. Most of the polls show that majority of Republicans are still with Donald Trump.
But I think you have to factor that by age, Javier, because like, yes, if you look at like older Republicans who by and large are very pro-Israel, yes, true, like they are definitely in lockstep. But if you look at and this is probably to Michael's point, I don't want to make his point for him, and I'll let him say, But if you look at younger conservatives, let's say 35 and younger, like that's where the fissure's starting to come. Because then that's where the Fuentes influence comes in, the Tucker Carlson influence comes in, because they're not pro-Israel the same way their parents are. And I think that's where the fissures come in. So I think it's deceptive to kind of look at these polls and say, yes, Republicans are still in line with like these kind of Bush Republican values. But the generation that's coming up is a completely different story. I mean, look at J.D. Vance and how he's trying to straddle it. He wants the gropers. I mean, Nick Fuentes went after his
Groypers.
fucking wife.
Although gropers is
Right.
probably accurate
Wait,
as
did
well.
I say gropers?
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question, Michael.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback off it, right? Like, I voted for Donald Trump. Like I said, I don't consider myself MAGA. I would never sit in here and even say I agree with everything Donald Trump is doing, nor would I definitely throw my lot in with most MAGA or Republican people. Me and them are not the same. I think fundamentally different than a lot of the Republicans, and like a lot of the arguments that I'm making, I'm probably going to tell you straight up what it is and try to create some kind of clever way to back out of it. Just like I told you why a lot of black men didn't vote for Kamala Harris. Like, I'm gonna give it to you straight. Now, you may not like the reason they gave, but that's how people think. People will vote based off a silly reason. That's just how humans are. But to piggyback off of what I was saying is that I'm just saying that Donald Trump is an acceleration of what was already wrong with the system to begin with. We're just accelerating the process. We were heading in this direction regardless.
Okay, let's say I concede to that point. Then why would your instinct to be to help that acceleration instead of hinder it? But if I said to myself, there is a corruption in politics generally, and it seems to be getting worse with each new president, my instinct would be to hinder that, not to help it.
Nah, because the problem is you're talking about intellectual politicians who know how to pull the veil over your eyes and get away with making millions of dollars or backing certain initiatives that allows money in politics. Like, these people have the system so set up in a way that they can get away with this constantly. And people ignore it or go about their way because these people are clever at hiding it or pretending like as if it doesn't exist. Donald Trump puts it all out there in front view. You know what's going on. You can see the corruption. It's right in your face. So anybody who sits back and tries to ignore it now, you just can't. So what are you going to do about it? The same thing they've been doing about it. Nothing. You brought up Nancy Pelosi making millions of dollars. Who's going to stop her? Nothing. Oh, we're upset about it. Upset don't change the fact that she's still worth millions of dollars and she's going to keep those millions of dollars. You're not doing anything about it. Well, you can say one thing, you can protest about one thing, but if you're not going to actually fix it or change it, it doesn't matter. I don't care what you feel. I don't care what you say. This is the direction in which our country is headed.
But how is it good that he's doing these things? It seems like maybe you're making an argument that Donald Trump is so bad that when he's gone as president, that we're going to have a reckoning, that we're going to have to change the laws, we're going to have to change something to make sure that we never have another Donald Trump. And that's why you voted for him? Donald Trump is so bad that you want him to be president so that we can never have another president as bad as Donald Trump?
I want people to stop pretending as if the system is fine. I want people to stop pretending like if you just elect the lesser of two evils, it'll work out in the end. It won't. That's not.
But
that's
how is he good? How is he achieving some end to your means?
Because it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is like there's this thing we call luxury beliefs. There are people walking around believing things about the world that isn't true, but they don't pay a consequence for it. So they're allowed to have these luxury beliefs. America is the most powerful country on the planet. If we want to remain the most powerful country on the planet, we have to find a way to root out these luxury beliefs in order for us to deal with reality as it is.
Just like we have to be Sparta. So we have to be like Sparta, this hyper competitive law of the jungle, like social Darwinist like country.
Not always
to maintain.
Sometimes, not always. Sometimes war is necessary. Sometimes it's not. But to pretend like we can never go to war, we're just talking about two fundamentally different things. The American public don't realize that reality exists. And we keep going around pretending as if every leader is supposed to be moral. We're never supposed to go to war. Everybody should be able to raise the taxes as high so we can give everybody public health care. Like, yes, but the only way to achieve these things is by power. And those people who disagree with you, you have to suppress that power. That's what politics is. It's not about the best people with the best ideas winning. Sometimes it's about the guy with the biggest paycheck. That's what our government is. That's what the country is ran on. Why are we pretending like, oh, we want somebody who makes us feel good? That's not true.
Well, I would argue that the neoconservative belief that you can somehow nation build and bring prosperity to another region, that seems to me like magical thinking. So I don't, but like my whole issue, I think you're true. I think you do point out some of the hypocrisies within magical thinking. Within certain overly privileged people. Like I think you could point to like California progressives for being guilty of that. My whole counter argument is that, dude, that same magical thinking is on the right now. Like
I agree.
and I think this Trump thing, to your point, it's kind of in many ways accelerated magical thinking because it's anti-conservative now, and now you have conservative influencers saying Trump is conservative because he's bringing back this mythical
But
past
guess
that
what?
never existed. That's magical thinking.
No, it is magical thinking, but guess what? Eventually it hits a wall. The economy reflects it. Like reality sets in. You can only think magical for so long before reality sets in. MAGA
I mean,
is paying the price for their illusion.
I mean, we all are
right now.
We're all paying the price for the illusions. I mean, this was like, if you look, I mean, it was the irrational exuberance argument for like the crash in 1929, the Great Depression. Like, so are you arguing the Great Depression was like good because it knocked all the flappers and gave them sense, like
I
about
can't
like and reset the world? Like,
I can't
it just it.
necessarily say because I don't know enough about the ins and outs of that, but I do argue that sometimes the stock market crashing is a good thing. It needs to reset the deck because fundamentally in capitalism, you can't have unlimited growth. At some point, it's going to break, and it needs to break so we can reset the deck. That's what the market crash does.
I mean, I feel like you're articulating what I suspected you were articulating all along. You feel like we need to have a crash, that people need to
need a leveling
get a reality
event.
check, and
we need to reset the deck. People need
Donald Trump is the reality check that you want America to fail. You want the stock market to crash. You want people to not have their iPhones and their luxury and their Netflix and their Amazon anymore so that they go back to reality and spend time with their families. To which I would say, where do you get off saying that it's that you should impose that on all of us, that you voted for the end of times, basically?
I just get to vote, just like you get to vote. I'm not saying I'm the arbitrator. I'm not the ultimate dictator. I'm just saying if I have to base my vote off something, this is my ideology, and this is how I choose to make my vote.
It's an interesting take that you wanted things to fail and hit a wall and crash and people to get a taste of reality because they needed it.
Yeah, they do.
I've not heard that take before, so you'll excuse me.
Bring it back.
That's why I say I'm not
the worst possible outcome, and that's why you voted for Donald Trump. You're literally the first Trump voter I know that is getting what he voted for.
Yeah.
And Javier, it feels.
Go ahead, Matt.
You know, like in black communities, I was like, you're going to get the belt. You want America to get the belt, to get the brush. What's the brush? The brush that you hit people. We need a spanking because we need to get back to reality.
Exactly.
So we need some tough black community love, is what you're saying. Like tough love from the black community.
Something because like I come from the projects. Life was hard, but
we gotta get our ass beat.
That might have been the best thing that ever happened to me, right? And I'm not saying everybody benefits from that, but what I'm saying is, when I live in a country where people have lattes, they have avocado toast, they're drinking out of paper straws, and they're sitting there telling me on how effed up everything is and how the country's going to, that's a luxury belief. I was listening to a podcast the other day about how slavery still exists in parts of the world where they are literally owning slaves, and nobody in America who's supposed to be so anti-slavery cares. It's not our problem. We don't even know about it. What I'm saying is our iPhones are made from products that little children have to go mine. We are already the bad guys. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a good guy. If you're an American, you're benefiting from slavery. If you're an American, you're benefiting from child labor. If you're an American, you're benefiting from all these horrible things. Let's stop trying to pretend like we're the good guys. We're just not. And I want Americans to wake up and realize we're not the good guys. We're not the good people in the story. Our millionaires and our billionaires take advantage of the rest of the world so that we can live in relative luxury. And we're going to sit here and try to moralize? Nah, that's not the truth. That's the only point I'm trying to make is we're not the good guys.
The only thing I can equate you to right now is a supervillain in a movie. Like you've got that voting for Trump was your doomsday device. The world needs to see the evil of our ways. Once I've detonated my device, you will all understand what it means to suffer.
You're sounding like a postgraduate colonial studies major with that kind of take, too.
You sound like a doomsday evangelical Christian type person who wants
I'm trying to offer
the sinners must repent.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to
so
offer.
next you're gonna get mad at me for dancing.
But
Next.
I'm really realizing something that both sides have been claiming for the longest. Like the left has been claiming that the system is corrupt and the millionaires and billionaires are getting away. They want to burn that system down. They don't want that system. The right has been complaining about how the media is run by liberals and how the news is fake and all. Like everybody is complaining about some facet of the system that they want to tear down or change and alter. Right? Like I'm just bringing it to its natural conclusion. It's just like, yeah, this is unsustainable. We
You're an
can't continue down this
accelerant.
path. Yes, we need to accelerate, get this over with, and then we can come back to reality and we can do the hard work to actually make our country better.
What's very interesting is I've heard some leftists make this exact same argument, but for the other side, because they think that this will somehow lead to a Marxist or socialist revolution. So they've made your argument just with completely different outcomes, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, I have nothing but time to sit here and think. I know it might sound crazy to the average listener who might be thinking like, "Oh, I don't like this." But I'm coming from the perspective of it's a lot of things about this world that I just don't like, and I had to just swallow that pill. It, I had to swallow it. Like war with Iran, I had to swallow it. We went to war with Iran. I feel like it was inevitable. Not only do I feel like it was inevitable, but I can see why we went to war with Iran when most people can't. We pulled out of Afghanistan. What did Putin do? He immediately invaded Ukraine, right? He thought he could just roll up in Ukraine and take their shit. Excuse my language, right? America couldn't do. We tried putting sanctions on them. We tried to fuck with their money, and guess what? Russia still went ahead and did it, and still doing it to this day. So if we can't hurt them financially, we have to scare them militarily. Americans are afraid of China and they're afraid of Russia. They're afraid of not being the world power anymore. So the only way, if you can't do it monetarily, you have to prove your strength in other ways, which is militarily. Militarily, messing with Iran messes with Russia, messes with China.
No, it doesn't. I totally disagree with that. Before we get into the war in Iran, though, because I do want to touch on that, I want to get back to what you were saying for 1 second, because I happen to know from the hot tub diplomatic session that we had that you also said, I said that with the rise of AI and billionaires, that it seems like we're on a road where everyone's just going to have to go die and these people will rule the world. And you said, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
So in one sense, you want to reset so people come back to reality. But in another sense, you said if billionaires kill all of us off and just have AI doing all our jobs and everyone has to just go die in a ditch and starve to death because the billionaires own the world now, that's okay with me too. So I'd like you to square that circle.
Yeah. You lay in the bed you make. There have been plenty of people coming out saying this AI thing is going off too fast. There are dangers and all that. We're sitting around and letting it happen. This is the bed we're making. We should lay in it. If the ultimate result of us giving these people our data, allowing them to use our data against our will to create this all-powerful artificial intelligence that's going to replace us, and we still sitting here debating the antics of it, and eventually they crack the code, guess what? It ain't about what's right and wrong. It ain't about your debate. The truth of reality is it will put us all out of work, and it's nothing we can do about it. And if that is the outcome, it's too late. So if that is the outcome, I'm just going to sit back and accept the fact that, hey, we dropped the ball on this one. It is
well, then it seems to me that you are at the same time making an argument that the billionaires, if they take over the world and we all have to go die, that's one thing. But it seems to me that the flip side of the exact same mentality you're using is that a guy like Luigi Mangione, you're down with that too, because he's somebody that's not laying down and taking it.
I'm not for or against that. I'm neutral.
But that's somebody not just laying there and taking it. That's somebody saying, fuck this shit. I'm going to do something about it.
Fact, he's what you call like the Unabomber was. The Unabomber had this whole idea that technology was going to make us less free, and he started sending bombs in the mail, trying to blow people up and stuff like that, trying to stop the progression of society technologically, right? But guess what? He didn't achieve what he set out to achieve. You can't just have the right stance. You got to be able to effectively achieve your goal. Luigione wasn't doing shit shooting this man. He wasn't changing nothing.
But maybe it was the shot that started the revolution.
Well, where's the revolution?
I've never supported him, but it seems to me like you're saying that if we just lay here and take it, we deserve it. So I'm saying here's somebody that's not just laying here and taking it. So does he not deserve it? Is if people follow Luigi and say these billionaires and these CEOs, fuck them, I'm going to do something about it. It seems to me that the mentality that you've laid out would also support that.
I'm not in support or against it. That's why I'm saying I'm neutral. And the reason I say I'm neutral is because if you have a problem with something and you decide to do something about it, by all means, do your thing. But on the other hand, if you're not going to do nothing about it, shut up.
Okay,
That's
well,
just
what
kind of
about
where
the
I'm at
people
with it.
who say we need to elect officials that are going to come in and do regulation? They're going to break up these monopolies of these corporate giants that are consolidating so much power. We're going to regulate AI, and we're going to tax these billionaires back down to to millionaires, to people that have $900 million instead of $1 billion. Wouldn't that be also people that are not laying down and taking it and doing something about it?
Yeah. And if you can pull that off, good luck.
But you're not going to be a part of that
Nah.
because that's all on the left.
Nah. Because that's not my goal. I'm not hoping to achieve that. My problem isn't with the millionaires and the billionaires. My problem is with the system. My problem is the system that makes you think that every 84% of the population agrees with X, but yet that's not what you get. That's my problem, is with the system. Most of these politicians that are telling you they're going to do those things, they're not going to do those things.
Right, but sounds to me like money in politics is your issue then, because that is the reason that 84% of the people say they want X, and then it doesn't happen.
And I can tell people right now how you can have an impact on that. Stop spending your money with these millionaires and billionaires who you know are impacting causes you don't support. But guess what?
What about overturning Citizens United?
I mean, if you can do it, good luck. Haven't people been
trying
to do that for the longest? I'm here for it. If you want me to vote against it, I'm here for that. I just don't think any politician is actually going to do it. If they were going to do it, they would have done it by now.
You Democrats are the oddest bird I've ever met, Javier.
Yeah.
Your take is honestly very close to a one of a kind. You are close to a one of a kind. There's conservative, there's progressive, and there's Javier.
Yeah, I'm like I said, it's, to me, I don't even see it right to left anymore. I don't really see the difference between conservative and Republican. I really just see tribalism. It's basically our guy told us to believe X, and that's what we're doing because that's our guy. That's really what a lot of this has come down to. That's not philosophical. That's not politics. That's just tribalism, period. So I don't want to be a part of any side. My goal is simple. I love America. I would like America to continuously exist. Any cause that I feel will further that endeavor, I'm in support of. So I'm not in favor of Donald Trump spending all this money. I'm not a fan of the big, beautiful bill because it actually puts us in a bigger financial situation, which will accelerate the country. But what do? The Republicans have folded. They ain't going to do nothing. The Republican voters support this. So, I mean, you make the bed you lay in. I'm just so happy that I just have to adjust on whatever circumstances is coming my way. That's how I'm moving. But I can't fix the world problems. I can't have a solution for everything. I just see that a lot of the reason that we are where we are is the same way Rome fell. There were people who was living in such a luxury lifestyle that they started believing things that didn't actually comport with reality. And Rome fell because of it. And America's in that same boat.
So you think America is going to fall?
Yeah, absolutely. At some point. I can't say when. I'm not in the prediction business, but if we keep going down the path that we're going, it's inevitable.
But wouldn't the path that we're going be electing people like Donald Trump and Christian nationalists like Pete Hegseth and Russell Vogt and Project 2025? And the reason I know you, Javier, is because I initially met you not through political debate, but because that we are on the same side as atheists, and that part of the MAGA movement is Christian nationalists who truly believe that there's some sort of end times battle between
good and evil and all of this.
Yeah. And that's what you voted for as well.
Yeah. But the way I'm operating is I see the liberals and the conservatives are all delusional to a certain extent. Like, you have to, when the conservatives say, oh, they're eating babies, when QAnon is saying they're eating babies in this pizzeria, you think I'm on their side? No, I realize, okay, I see what's happening here. Life is so good for y'all. Y'all got nothing but time to sit on the computer and come up with stupid ass conspiracy theories. Something's wrong here.
So you want life to be worse and harder for people?
Yes. Especially if you're going to sit around and complain about it. Yes.
I mean, to your point about Rome, you're basically making the same point all the moralizing historians made post-Augustus about how somehow when we had the consulship and things were hard and we fought back against Carthage or whatever, Like Rome had a purpose, and after that we became bloated and fat. And also, there's an imperial argument of Rome too. It's very interesting. You're sounding like an old conservative Roman patrician. I do find this argument interesting.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
super interesting.
yeah, I mean, look at the stuff that we be fighting over, man. Like we're really fighting over bathrooms. Like this is where we've come in this country, where the biggest topic that people are arguing about is whether who can use what bathroom. I knew something's wrong. Oh, we clearly are living in a place where we have things are going so right that we have to find things to argue about. And that blows my mind because I know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like not to know when your next meal is coming. And people are drinking lattes, arguing about which bathrooms people can use. We are completely off the mark. And guess what? The rest of the world are suffering from our decisions. We are over here complaining about things that, look, there are people who are mad at Jeff Bezos because he doesn't care enough about his employees, but I still see them ordering Amazon packages to their door every single day. You're not putting your money where your mouth is. You're not serious. You're virtue signaling. You're pretending to care about something you don't really care about. And those people, yes, I want them to know what reality is. I'm sorry. I really do.
It's so interesting. There's elements of Javier's take that have me going, yeah, motherfucker. Like he's not wrong. You know what I'm saying, Matthew? It's like there's definitely elements where I'm like, he's right. When he was saying like I never really thought of it that way before, that we have it so good that we're arguing over bathrooms. And the Jeff Bezos thing, I mean, I personally put my money where my mouth is. I have canceled my Amazon. I haven't ordered anything from Amazon in probably close to a year at this point since I decided that I wasn't going to be part of that system anymore. I do try to only go to mom and pop shops here in Silver Lake, California.
So you put your money where your mouth is. You're actually trying to walk the walk.
I do try, but I don't think. And again, you say that like we're causing these problems in the world, which I also agree with. That like particularly immigration, like we're the cause of the immigration problems that bring immigration to our door. It's the war on drugs more than anything, and the cartels that are corrupting the countries south of our border and sending the refugees to our door because we love drugs so much that we won't stop over anything, and so we create cartels in other countries that corrupt these countries, bribe the politicians, terrorize the populations, send them to our doors, and then blame them for showing up at our doors as we're snorting cocaine off a toilet seat like RFK Jr.
Right? We're their market. We created the market.
Yeah. So it's so strange that you and I are agreeing on some stuff, and yet I never could have used these talking points to get to, therefore I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because I want to destroy the United States of America.
I don't want to completely destroy America. I feel like whatever happens, we can recover from it. Like we still have the most powerful military on the planet. We still have a lot of resources that I don't think the country will cease to exist. But I do think we can have a wake-up call. It has to be strong enough for people to realize we need to change. There needs to be a fundamental change, and now's the time to put the work in. It has to be significant enough for people to realize we got to get serious.
I'm almost seeing things his way, Matthew. What's going on here? He's literally saying he wants Trump because Trump will ruin things so bad that it'll wake people up to some systemic problems that I agree with him on.
Okay, I am very skeptical of that argument because that kind of anger leads to populism, which leads to revolutions, which usually produce worse outcomes.
Absolutely. So, I'm not saying I agree with him that the outcome, that my solution is vote for Donald Trump, but it seems like he and I are not so far off on the systemic problems that he's identifying.
No, I think the systemic problems are definitely true. Again, some people don't like horseshoe theory, but I think it is, if you look at the manner in which both Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump campaigned, they both, I mean, I would say Trump was more cynical. He was trying to get votes and trying to take that populist fury and ride that to the White House. But they were both talking about the innate systemic corruption. So, like, I think this is where, look, to Javier's point that maybe it's not a right-left issue, and this is one of the interesting realignments I've seen, is, you get, like, Dave Smith, who's a libertarian who voted for Trump, going on breaking points with Crystal Ball, who's like a Bernie Sanders supporter, and they have a lot of overlap and agreement, Crystal and Sagar, where it's basically like this innate corruption, this innate systemic problem. Now, both the right and the left are going to have different routes to get that fixed. But I think you're starting to see that where there is this realignment where you have, for lack of a better word, a populist right and left that really agree on many things. So there's this new alliance that's forming. And like I think that's the overlap, and that's a through line where we can all find agreement in why we have, we enjoy talking politics and why we're friends, is we
Yeah.
all have different ways to get there, but we do notice that there is a systemic rot that
I mean,
has.
yeah, I'm thinking about it. Like the other alternatives are there. There are third parties. There are like Andrew Yang came up with the forward party. Like there are people trying to
But to
create.
your point about systemic problems, sorry to cut you off, but like the way the two party system is set up with the electoral college winner take all system, we're not a parliamentary system where a third party can get traction. Like it's
Yeah,
probably just not going to happen. I don't see the
yeah.
route to a third
So
party.
what happens when everybody when I tell you like 84% of the population agrees with something, but yet we still getting the complete opposite. The only alternative, I think I talked to David Smalley about this, is the only like when you tell me the system is so broken that you literally can't make the changes that you need to make happen, you're not giving me an alternative, but okay, then use force. If voting doesn't work, if making your voice heard and protesting doesn't work, the only other option you're leaving on the table is violence. And people just don't want to admit that. Violence is the last
Well,
resort.
I mean, look,
If you
if you look at the Russian Revolution, there were times where they tried to like rein in the czar and get him to be less autocratic, but as well, there was also problems with war and kind of economic issues as well. French Revolution as well, you had this unfair system that people tried to change through parliamentary means, and then it got more and more, it moved towards violence. So you are right. When 84% of the population doesn't want something that happens anyway, like, yes, people might see force as the only means that they can do to effectuate change. So, yeah, maybe we are in a pre revolutionary moment. Maybe when we look back at the history of the American Revolution Part Two, we're going to see that like this was the moment where it started. Maybe it happens in 5, 10 years. I don't.
I don't know if
Again,
it's
kind of.
possible anymore. On the side note,
it might not be.
I think
And think
modern
about it.
weaponry or whatever they have on the government
Yeah.
has on their side now, I think would make any sort of
I don't
popular
know.
uprising that was
January
possible.
6th.
Huh?
January 6th happened.
That's a good point, but at the same time, they were not waiting for them with modern weapons. I think if a tyrant like Donald Trump, sensed that the population was actually going to rise up, whatever means he would use would be something that we would not be able to fight against. And I don't even know what that is, but I mean, we know that there's stuff going on. You could take Havana syndrome, which is apparently some weapon that the Cubans used against our diplomats that caused them neurological pain. There's talk of when we kidnapped Maduro in the middle of the night, that there was some sort of weapon that had people, blacking out and shitting their pants
Oh, wow.
all around the presidential palace. I don't know that we can come at them with pitchforks, and torches
See,
anymore.
I'm not advocating for violence.
Nor am I. I'm just saying
yeah.
that I don't even think it's possible anymore. That
Yeah.
this idea that you could rise up, it would have to be a popular uprising of such size and magnitude to overcome whatever it is that they have, because I don't know that
Well, the
we live in
military
an
would
age where
also
that's
have to
possible
side.
anymore.
Yeah.
Military would have to side with the revolution.
And
too.
9 times out of 10, the military is going to split. There are going to be people who's like, I'm with my family and friends, and you're going to have people who's like, I'm with the president or whatever. Like, it can go that way. All I'm saying is, I think that I feel like there's two options left for me. That's just me personally. I had to either feel like, when people tell me the system is broken and that they tried voting for this and that, and it's not working. When you remove all other options, the only option that I see left is, okay, if you can't do it through the diplomatic means, what other options do you have left? And if you're not going to go the violent route, then you have a second option. Submit. So here I am. Yeah. If you don't want to do whatever it takes to overthrow the system, then you must submit.
Well, I think that's a false dichotomy. I mean, there's ways in the middle that you can do. I mean, like to Michael's point, you could vote for politicians that you think are going to try to bring about legislation, bring about Supreme Court justices that could overturn some of these bad decisions.
I'm
So I don't
sorry,
think it's
but
an either or.
I'm sorry, but Michael, look at what has happened. Donald Trump has whipped the liberals' ass, yo. Look
But
at
that's
the
not going
Supreme
to happen
Court.
forever. But like, again,
But
like,
that is the pendulum swinging one way and the other.
yeah,
And look, we could talk about what happened in 2024, and that will be studied probably for centuries to come. But the fact of the matter is, I still happen to believe that whenever I hear from some conservative, America, love it or leave it, I say, America, love it or change it, because that is what we used to believe was one of the most empowering things about our Constitution. And Thomas Jefferson himself said that, each new generation should be no more beholden to the previous generations than they are to a foreign army. That is to
Yes.
say, America belongs to us, the new generation. Whoever it is that is inhabiting America at this time, our Constitution was set up in such a way that we can form it and shape it to our liking. And that if there are systemic problems, we actually have the means by which to get rid of them. Maybe still. Now, Donald Trump is warping that Constitution and shutting down democracy in a way where we
How
might not
though?
have a voice anymore.
How?
But
The question is, how do we get there in the first place? How did we end up in a place where Donald Trump got elected twice, once after January 6th? How? You got to ask
I mean,
yourself,
you
how
could.
do we even get to that point? It's a lot that came right before then. How?
Well, I think media silos on both sides you could point to. I think you can look at. There are certain points where I felt that, like, even though I agreed with the liberal critique from a strategy standpoint, I felt it was going to backfire. And one of the things was the Alvin Bragg prosecution in New York. The moment I saw that, I'm like, yeah, technically, yes, they should prosecute him. I understand how he broke the law, but this is something that's going to galvanize him and make him look. That's going to validate every argument he has about being on a witch hunt. Like, I think that is,
I remember we
and I
was
think
in a
that was
hot
like a.
tub. Remember we was in a hot tub, and I said that people would rather fight a war than die of boredom. Like Donald Trump defined the enemy. He gave people an enemy. He never apologized for it. Hitler did the same thing. Stalin did the same thing. It's a playbook that is as old as humanity. People will always lean on a strong man when they feel like times are hard. It's a human nature thing. It's something that goes back to hunters and gatherers. You're fighting a force that's beyond us. You want to come in with logic and you want to come in with debate. Most Americans don't want to hear your debates. Most Americans will click on a video on YouTube and it will change the way they vote. You're fighting a force that's beyond you. They have algorithms that can swing elections. We're fighting a war we cannot win.
So would you say that, like, Donald Trump understands politics at a more primal level than trained politicians, and that's why he continues to win?
Probably. I don't even think he understands it. I think it's just because he is that guy,
Instinctual?
it works in his favor.
I would agree with Javier. I wouldn't say he understands anything. I think that because he is that guy, it works in his favor. It was just the luck of the draw that a guy came around who hit all these, who had just by happenstance happened to have all these persuasive techniques. And Javier's right. And I had a journalist on just last week on Regilio via Everything who was explaining the psychological techniques that people use to get elected, and he said that people think make America great again was the saying that Donald Trump used to get elected. But he says in reality what it was we used to win, we never win anymore, we're going to do so much winning, because people could relate to that. I used to have a better life, I don't feel like I have a good life anymore. This guy understands that, and he says he's going to change that. And that I don't think it was Donald Trump studying the psychology of persuasiveness. I think it was Donald Trump just happened to be saying the right thing that hit the right notes with the right people at that time.
Well, I read something that, like, when Donald Trump was starting to test out maybe running for president, he would actually go on right-wing talk radio. In much the same way you and I would go to an open mic to test a joke, Michael, he would test to see what would get a response from right-wing talk radio. The same thing with Build a Wall. He noticed that when he was at these long rallies, if the energy dropped, he'd say build a wall and the energy would come back up. So I think there is this. I actually think. I mean, you two will probably disagree with that. I think there's a higher intelligence that we're not giving Donald Trump credit for. I don't even say he's like a. I don't think he's a powerful intellect. I don't think he's like a an intellect
No,
in
he's
that way.
definitely
But I think
not
there's this
stupid.
primal. I
Yeah.
think there's this primal instinctual understanding that he has, like almost like a bully in a schoolyard. Like, look at how he took out Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul in 2016. He just knew crooked Hillary. He just knows how to frame an insult and just get to that one thing that will label his opponent in his advantage. I think there's this, I don't want to say genius, but there's this talent that he has that, fortunately for him, he came around at the same time. And he was also lucky to have the best opponent he could have had in Hillary Clinton, because yes, Donald Trump is corrupt, but if you're going to have someone who's corrupt, have someone else who's kind of stained by corruption, so you can make your corruption look like it's within the same neighborhood as theirs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump helps me fulfill my conservative wet dream. Just use it that way, right? Where I believe that the federal government should have less power. I'm more about empowering people on the local level where people can actually have a say in what's going on around them. Your mayors, your governors, your representatives. Like, I want the federal government has gotten so big to where if we elect the Donald Trump figure, he will have an impact on everybody's life. Unrestrained.
The federal government is just big in different places now. There's literally masked agents kicking in people's doors without a warrant and loading them into unmarked vehicles and disappearing them into third world gulags.
Yes.
There is the government choosing winners and losers in the corporate world and creating mergers that are giant.
Crony's capitalism. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't have a problem with capitalism. I have a problem with crony capitalism. Like,
right. So, but he didn't fulfill your conservative wet dreams. If you actually wanted to shrink government, all he did was take and by the way,
no, not Donald Trump.
Like,
not Donald Trump implementing it. What I'm saying is, he proves the point that I wanted to make for so long. The federal government having so much power is bad for everyone.
I don't think so.
The point. Because you're hoping that the person who uses that power is going to be on your side or agree with you.
No.
But when they don't,
as a black man, you must understand that there was no chance that segregation was going to happen in the South, that the Civil Rights Act was ever going to get passed, if not at the federal level. That there are certain things that the federal government and only the federal government can do. And that it is to the advantage of people, that you don't want a small government across the board, because think of how gay Americans' civil liberties are going to be stepped all over in Alabama if you say that the federal government doesn't have a say over civil liberties. Think about how...
But Michael, I'm not saying... I believe that the federal government is responsible for a few core things, right? Like protecting the Constitution, which I believe is basically, you definitely should protect people's rights. If somebody's rights are being violated, I don't care in what state, in what city, in what town, if their rights are being violated, I think that's a federal issue. The federal government is there to protect your federal rights, even when a state is infringing upon them. That would fall totally within the purview of what the federal government is. I just think there are certain things the federal government are involved in was never meant to be its focus. And that's where we need to get government out of. Now, if it's things that fundamentally deal with protecting your rights as a human being to pursue your happiness, then the federal government has a say in that. 100%. I agree with that.
Well, then how could you possibly feel about these media mergers where they're literally taking away First Amendment rights? That the freedom of the press is being compromised as Warner Brothers is being bought out by Paramount, which is also owned by TikTok, which is the Ellisons who are friends with Trump, and he's approving all these mergers, and they are literally doing away with freedom of speech and freedom of the press. That's
another thing.
The opposing point of view is being diminished by Donald Trump.
That's another thing. I don't think the government should be in the power, have the power to control that type of stuff. The media and what you talk about on television and stuff like that. That's one of those things that I think the federal government has too much power over. Like I'm that
right. So your hope that Donald Trump would shrink the government, shrink parts of the government. I don't hope Donald Trump would shrink the government.
I hope that Donald Trump will make people realize they need to shrink the government. That's what I'm saying.
I see.
Yeah, in the right ways. Yeah. Like there's certain things the federal government shouldn't have control over.
It sounds like, Ann Coulter said that she thinks Donald Trump is the most corrupt president in the history of the world, and she's glad he's president, but as soon as he's not, we are going to have to pass new laws so that we can never have another Donald Trump. She literally said that.
Now hold them to that standard. That's what I'm saying. When Donald Trump is gone, I need everybody to stand up.
How about we pass those laws now so Donald Trump has to stop being Donald Trump? Why is it that all you conservatives are like, yeah, he's the most corrupt piece of shit ever, and as soon as he's gone, we're going to pass a bunch of laws so we can never have another Donald Trump.
Here's what's
another Donald Trump on the left.
Yeah.
Because if it was just J.D. Vance, I bet you'd all be cool with it. Like, let's do one more Donald Trump. Let's do one more. One more. Hey. Then the second there's
that's what's more likely going to happen. You're going to see some this is another reason why I would argue that conservatives are going to rue the day they elected Donald Trump, because somewhere there's a young leftist who is looking at what Donald Trump is doing and being like, hey, if I just run this playbook, I can get all these progressive leftist things I want, and I just have to use his playbook, and then I will be able to deliver on what I think is best.
This is
And
why
then
I think conservatives are all starting to come around to, as soon as Trump's gone, we have to pass laws so we can never have another Donald Trump. It's
whatever
right
it
for
takes.
me, but not for thee. More
I don't think
conservative
it's right for us.
hypocrisy.
I don't think it's right for the conservatives. What I'm saying, it's a necessary
But you
evil.
voted for it because you
But here's the
wanted it.
thing, though, Michael. I will say this: if let's say 2028 comes around, you get a Democratic president, Democratic Senate, Democratic House. There's no way that a Democrat gets in charge and wants to enact all these policy things that the constituents want. That the Democrats are going to say, like, you know what, we're going to rein back that executive power. I think, to Javier's point, I think this is one thing that might be more systemic, because the
Yeah,
moment your person gets, it's like the same thing. George W. Bush was a terrible executive who overreached, and then Obama came in, and no one. I mean, I don't want to say no one, but most people on the left didn't have a problem. I mean, there's goes back to Kennedy, where people were arguing for the strong executive because they wanted JFK to enact change, and then
that,
when Nixon
that's
came,
that's the
people
thing
changed.
though. That's the thing. I don't even believe the politicians are in control. It's the donors. They running the show. I don't care who you elect. The donors are in charge.
I would agree with you. And I would say that I don't believe what Matthew said at all. I would say that whoever is going to become president in 2028 is going to run on a policy of undoing this executive overreach and passing
You think?
policies that restrict them, the executive. Yes, I can't see somebody,
Now, when they
particularly
do
on the
it, we
left.
don't know.
There's
But
no chance somebody's going to run on, I'm going to enact all these progressive policies, but I'm also going to leave all the executive overreach in place so that I can abuse it. I don't see that happening.
They can't run
I
on
don't think
that.
they're going to say that. I don't think they're going to say that. But I think the reality, even if they campaign on limiting executive overreach,
They're not gonna
if
do it.
everything aligns and they don't have pushback from a Republican Congress, the incentives of leadership and the incentives of enacting
Look how much we can
policies
get done
will
just with
win.
the power I have, right? Like, if you have the power to do it and you want to do those things, why would you limit
We're the
yourself
one with
to do it?
Sauron's ring. We're going to do it differently. I just think human nature, and I remember when we were talking with Joe Walsh when we did that thing, Michael. Like, that was my biggest concern about Trump, is that Trump's going to change the incentives of how you get elected as president, because now, I mean, Stephen A. Smith is running for president because he's like, oh, I talk a lot on ESPN, people might vote for me. It's turned the pursuit of the presidency into a celebrity game. And secondly, this kind of partisan bullying approach to getting stuff done, I think it changes that incentive structure as well. So I don't think, even if you get Gavin Newsom, who's a return to sanity or whatever, I don't think he's going to be president, but let's just say it's him. I don't think it's going to change when he gets in office, because I think the incentives are there and they're not going
Well, that
away.
gets me into the whole pessimistic thing anyway, because you mentioned Sauron's ring, and it is the precious, and Trump is Gollum, and he's never going to let go of the precious. He will die clasping the precious, which is why I think 2026 is fucked, and I think 2028 is fucked.
So do you
And I
think that
think that
he's
this
going to
is all
find a way to?
hypothetical games that we're playing, because I don't think we're going to have a free and fair election in 2026, and I know we're not going to have a free and fair election in 2028. And I
So
think
he's
that
going
the
to pull
people,
like an Orban thing, and like basically just through
yes,
voter suppression or through the
yes,
media.
I think it's going to be like Putin, Orban. I think it's going to be exactly like that. And I think that
So you don't think Democrats get the House in 2026? Do you think that they somehow
I
find a
think
way to?
that best case scenario, nobody gets sat for a year. That they drag this thing out for a year before they
Oh,
seat
through like
any new
kind of
Democrats.
so
I don't
basically
think.
through like fraudulent
January
like
20th or
voters.
whatever, when they seat the Congress people, which I think is more like January 6th or something, or 7th or something. Yeah, I think it's 5th or 6th. Anyway, that said, when new Congress people get sat in early January 2027, I say that the whole thing's tied up in courts as they
Oh,
they
so they'll
sue
sue
over
it.
mail-in voting. If the Save America crap or whatever, this voter suppression act that they're trying to pass now doesn't go through, they are learning how to fuck with elections over the last two cycles in a way that they have learned from the last two cycles in a way that they know how to fucking throw their shoes into the machines and fuck this shit up bad. And that best case scenario, they don't get sat for 9 months to a year. Worst case
Mm.
scenario, they overturn the entire apple cart.
I think that I'm not even here trying to stop nothing or change anything when it comes to all that. Like, I ultimately believe the donors are the last say. They gonna get what they want regardless of what we want. If that means
Yeah.
Donald Trump getting his way, or that means getting rid of Donald Trump at some point because he's bad for business or whatever, they're gonna figure out a way to rig it in their way anyway.
Yeah, well,
That's
what they
that's the
want, Peter
biggest.
Thiel, Elon Musk, and etc., they want some sovereign cities of their own, and they've
Mhm.
proven that over and over again.
So I'm of the opinion, right? Like, the moment I started realizing that I live in privilege, not only am I privileged, but I noticed a lot of times I didn't even feel bad about the privileges that I had, knowing that other people had to suffer for me to have the said privilege. Like, I found out about the avocados in Mexico and how that whole thing is going. And boy, do I see people tearing up some avocado toast. It ain't hard to find the information. I heard about chocolate and what they do with chocolate and how they get chocolate. It's a fucked up industry, but I still eat chocolate. So once I put that in perspective and realized, wait a minute, we're the bad guys. I don't go around moralizing to anybody. I'm better than you, or I have the better moral way. I don't do that to anybody because I realize at the same time, it's like, no, I'm benefiting from horrible things every single day. I take full advantage of it, knowing it's wrong. And I still sleep at night. What does that say about me? Right? So I'm done trying to pretend to be the good guy. I'm done trying to lecture other people on why they follow my way and I can fix the world. I can't fix the world. I can't solve
So
all your problems.
you're basically the Scarface model, like say I go to the bad guy.
Yeah, I am the bad guy. We're all the bad guy.
But
I'm just
I mean, but
honest
is it,
enough to
do you
admit
think
it.
it's more a consequence of that's unique to us, or the fact that we are the world superpower? Because when Britain was the world superpower, I mean, they were the bad guy. You know what I mean? I think some of
Yeah,
this is just your
there's
place
gonna be a bad
in
guy. That's the way the world works. Until we get to a place of prosperity where literally abundance is everywhere and everybody can benefit from it, somebody's going to take advantage of somebody else. Somebody's going to get the bad end of the deal. That's just the way nature works. You think that I can convince the lion not to eat the gazelle? Now, if you just listen, like, be a good person, I gotta eat, bro. Somebody getting ate. It's gonna be the gazelle. That's nature. We think because we're humans that we're beyond nature, and we've been trying to fight that forever. And every now and then something comes back and reminds you, taps you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, it's fucked up out here. Don't stop thinking it ain't fucked up out here. You might be able to pretend it ain't fucked up out here because we don't have to see the ugly. But if I had to go show you the ugly to get that iPhone, you realize it's fucked up out here."
Man, I'll tell you, Javier, when he talks, there's some part of him that is so right. But it's just his conclusions that we should burn it down and the world is unjust, so I'm just going to enjoy my place of privilege. That I guess it's the progressive in me that says, no, we can do better. But when he talks, I just hear such truth in what you're saying, but it's your conclusions I have a problem with. You're like, unlike any conservative I've ever debated before, where it seems to me that they dance around.
I understand them more than they understand themselves because we all have to put on the facade of like, oh, I'm trying to do what's good. But the reality is, conservatives hated Hillary Clinton. They would have celebrated if we would have strung her up in the town square. It would have been a good day for them. Like, let's be honest. Oh, it's not because I didn't like her policies, but I hate this lady. That's what they really feel. Like, they didn't want a woman president. I don't want a woman president. I'm going to be honest with you. Now, having a woman president, is that the end of the world? Probably not. There's probably plenty of women out there who are qualified to be president. But I also know that if you below a certain height, you probably ain't getting elected president. Is that right? It's just the way it is.
I don't know
mean,
about that.
I think he has a point here. I have this theory that like Pete Buttigieg will never be president because he looks like he would be a prime minister of Norway and not the president of the United States because we're a militaristic culture. So I don't know. I think Javier, you might have a point there. Like
It's just the way it
no
is.
short
Like,
kings.
yeah, like women complain about having like being disadvantaged in society. But nobody talks about how if you are ugly, you probably have it worse than anybody. Pretty privilege is a thing. If you're attractive, you'll get less time in prison than somebody that's ugly.
I mean, I think that when Kamala Harris, I think, was appointed as senator, I think Obama made a comment about how she was easy on the eyes. I seem to remember that happening.
like, that's just the world we live in. I'm just
Well,
like,
Trump thought she was hot too. Remember, he's like, or he denied that she was hot, but he was like, and this Time magazine cover, they make her look like the late great Sophia Loren.
Yeah,
She was
like
cute.
yeah, like men have to stop going around acting like they really attracted to women. Like, yo, like it's certain things we can pretend because we have the luxury of pretending. But like, I believe that all women should have the freedom to pursue their happiness. I think it's guaranteed by the Constitution. I think women should have the same rights as men. Like, I'm 100% in support of that, but that don't mean that things are going to go your way.
So,
Everybody thinks
so you
because you
would not
do.
go as far as Myron Gaines and think that and suggest that women should not be allowed to vote.
Yeah, like Afghanistan, for
That's a
example.
movement. It's a movement on the right now among the evangelical far right Christians
And I
that one
blame
family,
atheists.
one vote. And that's the side you're on, my atheist friend.
I
That's
blame
what blows me
atheists.
away is you're on the side of the religious lunatics. And
No,
at
I'm
least,
not on their
if
side.
nothing else, I might be a delusional lefty
against them.
out here in fantasy land, but at least I'm not on the side of the religious people that you and I have acknowledged so many times before are delusional and bad for society.
I blame a lot of this on atheists. I blame atheists for a lot of this.
Oh.
Why are y'all going
Take
around
that, Sam Harris.
Yeah, like why are atheists going around trying to play this morality game? Like they got like God telling them that this is right and this is wrong. You don't have that. That don't exist. Nature is nature. Evolution
specifically
exists.
I'm interested, like, how are atheists playing a morality game that is similar to religious people?
Because atheists started going around getting very hyper political. The one thing you know is Christians don't like atheists because it makes them. You're telling them their religion is wrong. Not only that, they were going to be against the left regardless. Once they definitely realized the atheists were on side, the atheists are their natural enemy. But atheists just started going around making it seem as if they have the moral correct position. Oh well.
So,
go ahead.
Sorry, so I just want to understand this because this is very interesting. So, like, take someone like Sam Harris. So when he was criticizing religion, that was okay. But the moment he started wading into politics, and especially having strong opinions on, say, a potential war with Iran, or I just know Sam Harris as an example. I can't speak for atheists within the community.
Yeah.
I mean, Dave Rubin kind of did this thing too. He started as like the atheist. That was his initial entry into kind of commentary, and then he's kind of gone into more politics too. I mean, I think there's other reasons for that. But is that the reason, like the same kind of like arrogance or moral clarity that atheists have denouncing religion? Because it can come as a lot of atheists do make the moral argument that religion should be abolished because it leads to better outcomes.
Yeah.
So there's a moral argument there.
I've never heard an atheist say religion should be abolished. I'm gonna stand up for my atheist brethren and sisters.
Well, sorry, they said that the world would be a better place with. Sorry. Let me. They said the world would be a better place if religion died. Sorry, I misspoke there. If religion stopped,
I would say that. Look,
I used to feel that way.
As an atheist, I just go with using what I consider to be logic, which is that it's not a logical conclusion that Bronze Age goat herders who imagined an invisible wizard in the sky. Yes, I know every time I say that, I get so much hate mail that it's the most disrespectful thing you could say to religious people when you call God a wizard, but I just don't know how you define him without it sounding like a wizard to me. Yeah. But that said, and that when you look at the more secular societies, such as the Nordic models in Japan, that there's a democratic socialist element that go into those as well, but they do have the longest lifespans. They have the most vacation time. They have the highest happiness indexes. That when you look at the most red and religious states in America, they have the highest divorce rates. They have the highest, the religion and suffering go together, particularly when you're in a marginalized group in a religious society, such as not of the same religion, like say a Muslim in a Christian society, a gay person in a Christian society, that the logical that we could reach a place where it's not about even better outcomes for everybody. It's better outcomes for the group, and when arguing with conservatives, I very often find that they want to talk about individuals and I want to talk about populations. Like food stamps. My neighbor He's on food stamps. I've never even seen him look for a job. He plays video games all day. And you say, but if you look at the society as a whole and ameliorating childhood poverty and that children who have a belly full of nutritious food learn more in school and go further in life, that it helps society on the whole. But they just want to talk about their neighbor who uses food stamps to get Doritos and play video games. So when an atheistic position, I don't know what moralizing I do other than if you look at the statistical data, there are better outcomes for a secular life.
All right. So I'm not going to argue with you on that. Right. Like, now, religious people do report to be happier than atheists.
Yeah.
Right?
I imagine believing that a powerful wizard is on your side probably makes you sleep well at night.
Yeah. But at that point, it's not about that for me. Because, like, I'm always trying to figure out what you're trying to solve for. Some people trying to solve for happiness. Some people trying to solve for hunger. Some people trying to solve for a just system. Whatever you're trying to solve for, you have to maximize for that. Religious people want to be happier because they're afraid of the afterlife. They're afraid of what happens when they die. Like, that soothes them. That brings them happiness. That's what they're trying to solve for. So in that way, they're successful. Atheists are trying to solve for something different. So we go about it in a different way. We understand
one life.
there may be one life. We have to try to make this life the best that we can while we're here. So you're solving for a different problem, which is cool because nobody can tell you what problem you need to solve for yourself. Everybody gets to determine that for themselves. But the reason I say atheists moralize is because, like, humanism, or like even Sam Harris tried to do it in his book about, like, the different peaks of happiness, and like we should
Moral landscape.
we should be trying to achieve, like, human flourishing, right? But what if that's not the goal? Like, no, you can't just tell me that human flourishing is the goal. What if I disagree with you? Then what? Morals is made up. It's subjective. It's not real. It's something we created. Animals don't go around philosophizing about morals. That's something humans uniquely do, right?
That's because animals are not advantaged with a prefrontal cortex.
That's true. But at the same time, I don't care how right you are or how you feel morally you are. If somebody put a gun in your face and pull the trigger, you're dead. Reality bumps up against whatever you got in your brain when rubber hits the road. So what I'm saying is, I don't have any morality to stand on. There's no arbiter out in the universe saying this is morally good and this is morally wrong. What I'm trying to solve for, every person needs to decide for themselves, what are you trying to solve for? And that will determine what you need to do in life. Some people hate abortion. All they talk about is pro-life stuff. They're trying to solve that problem that they care about. That's their mission. Michael, what are you trying to solve for? You want to end the world hunger, or you want to end child poverty? Solve for that. But we can't solve everything. I cannot solve every problem. And it's irresponsible of me to expect everybody else to try to solve every problem. If you voted for Kamala Harris because you thought she was better than Donald Trump, you should have voted for her. Who am I to tell you who you should vote for? Because you're trying to solve a different problem than I might be trying to solve. Now,
I didn't vote for Kamala Harris. I voted for not Donald Trump.
Okay. And
for the last 3 elections. I don't know what name it was. I didn't even look. There was Donald Trump, and then in the other column there was not Donald Trump. And I voted for not Donald Trump.
You're like, oh shit, I voted for Joe Jurgensen from the Libertarian Party.
Yeah. But also, we don't need to make people defend everything that the person they voted for did. Because 9 times out of 10, when you vote for somebody, you don't actually really know what the hell they're going to do. So when they actually do stuff, you don't have to defend everything. You can just defend why you voted for that person. Now, if that person does something you don't like, you should call them out for it. There's a lot of shit Donald Trump do. That shit that happened in Michigan with the killing of Peralta.
Minnesota.
Minnesota. I'm not with that shit at all, right? But, like, I shouldn't have to come up here and defend everything Donald Trump does or everything that Donald Trump says. I can only defend why I voted for him. I can't defend what he did after that, right? But let's bring it to, at some point we get to the war in Iran, but
we'll have to get there next because,
okay.
Javier, you are a skilled, you're skilled at articulating a thought process that I don't have. And it's a pleasure talking to you, man. Like, these are thoughts that don't cross my mind, but you articulate them in a way that makes sense to me. I'm not saying I agree with you.
I get it.
But
yeah.
I know you're going to post this on your channel. I think I agree with all your followers that more Javier, please. He's a talented man.
Yeah. I
All right, why don't
think
we close on the war in Iran?
all right, just a little, yeah. Let's run through that real quick. I'm of the opinion. I'll lay out my position. Y'all tell me where y'all disagree or where I could, maybe change my way of thinking. Um, America needed a military win because America um, has this running theory that the dollar is getting weaker, our economy is getting weaker. There are rivals like China and Russia that Americans are concerned about. What happens if China gets the AI first? What happens if Russia takes over Ukraine? What does that say about America and its power structure in the world? And America can only implement force by finances or by military might. And if they feel like economically they can't win, they use military might. What they're trying to send a signal is when we pull out of Afghanistan, Putin must have thought that, oh, America's weak. We don't have the stomach for war. I can go and invade this country and they won't do shit about it. And we didn't do shit about it. We tried to do some monetarily shit. It didn't work. Russia's still in that motherfucker. So the only option I'm assuming that the military had is let's show some military might. Let's show we don't fuck around. And maybe that'll convince them, be careful how you move because we might have the stomach for war. So at least think twice before you try to roll up on Taiwan or before you try to do some shit that you think call my bluff. That's my impression of why we went to war with Iran. But also there are other reasons. I think Israel and all of that shit that's going on as far as Israel wants to dominate that area. Rightfully so. I think if I was an Israeli, I would want to dominate that area. I would want to secure my future as an Israeli, and I would want to be the economic power and military power within that region. I think every country wants to hold that level of security where they are. People just get mad because Israel is good at it. That's kind of how I feel. Y'all tell me if I'm missing something, if I'm wrong about something, or
I feel like you're 100% wrong about everything. I feel like, as far as Russia goes, I think we've only bolstered them, and particularly China as well. For one, I can't think of anything Donald Trump has ever done that a Russian asset wouldn't also do. And as far as taking on Russia in Ukraine, I think that he has been mealy mouthed and weak at very best. And the fact that right now he is lifting sanctions on Russian oil, which was the only economic squeeze we had on Putin right now because of the fact that we invaded Iran, and which is affecting world oil supplies, is now Russia is both giving the Iranians targeting information to kill American soldiers, and in response, we are rewarding them with more money. As far as China goes, they're the only ones getting anything through the strait right now, so they're getting their oil. But furthermore, what we are doing is we are to our military adversaries, who you thought we were going to show show force to, what we've actually done is illustrated the weaknesses in the American military. They are watching everything we're doing and they are studying it, and their war plans are changing on how they would fight America based on what we're doing in Iran. We basically gave them a demo of our military, and they are studying it very closely, and they are saying, okay, these are the weaknesses, these are the strengths, this is how we would fight America in a war. So all we've done is bolster their military confidence instead of diminish it. I don't think they're looking at us in Iran right now and going, oh boy, we better not fuck with them. Iran literally hit one of our stealth fighters. Did you know that? Iran has kind of shown us that they were not the paper tiger we thought they were. And I think it's because of the fact that they've spent the last 40 years studying asymmetrical warfare, because they knew they couldn't beat us in a fair fight militaristically, and which is why that they are taking us on in a multifaceted asymmetrical warfare. But I think that China and Russia are the two big winners. You could say, I don't know who's going to win between the war between Iran and the United States and Israel. Obviously, America and Israel would win militaristically, but the big winner is going to be Russia. And currently, I would say that is exactly the case.
Matt, anything to add?
Well, you both said a lot. I mean, I would add that also Saudi Arabia could be an eventual winner as well, because they are selling oil to China. So they're kind of, yes, they are getting. There's a potential that they could get drawn into a further conflict with Iran, and they definitely hate each other. Just look at Yemen. But the Saudis seem to be
Oh no,
managing things
Matt.
pretty well.
Am I frozen or y'all
Look,
frozen?
to your argument that America needed to win, you could argue that they got that win when we got Maduro. You could argue that that would suffice. You could also argue, if I were looking for someone to pick on, if I was going to get a win, get a regime change, I would go after Cuba. Not that I would advocate that to do that, but that makes more sense than going after Iran.
Yeah.
So this idea that that Iran, I don't, even saying that, America needed to win. I think that's giving Trump too much credit for why we went to war in Iran. It just feels like this improvisational thing that got yes-anded to a conflict. You had the Israelis planning an attack. You have strong voices within the blob in Washington D.C. that have um, wanted regime change in Iran since like 2005. I remember when the Iraq War was happening, people were going on Fox News. Lindsey Graham was going on, well, we have to go get Iran next. So
Yeah.
never give up on your dreams, people, because Lindsey Graham has wanted war in Iran for years, and he finally got it.
Yeah. All right.
So
So, go ahead.
it feels to me like it's not exactly Vietnam, but it just feels like it's just kind of this like creep that got out of control and this momentum. And I think that's my big concern. Like, who knows who the winners and losers are going to be? It certainly could be China. It certainly could be Russia. But the fact that the Iranian regime has not crumbled after the assassination of Khomeini and some of their other top lieutenants, the fact that they're fighting back, the fact that like whatever liberal resistance we had in Tehran is probably turning against us now because they're breathing like oil, oil like rain. It just, we've created, like, it's a destabilizing event that has created a future that we can't even comprehend. There's so many ways. I can see the logic, the neocon logic, that like if we get Iran to be a pro-Western democracy, somehow the region will be
Ugh,
more stable and there will
that's
be
what they said about
more.
Iraq.
But I understand, no. But I understand that there is a
That's
logic.
what
I
they
don't
said
think it's
about
going to happen.
Afghanistan.
But like I can understand to a certain degree. Like there is a huge element of magical thinking. It's like neoconservatism is a lot like communism in that regard to me. Like there's magical thinking, like it's utopic thinking. It falls apart. So
Hmm.
I just don't think that's going to happen because I think the more likely outcome is you're going to have a hardened conservative majority within Iran that's going to be stronger now because there were fissures in Iran before we attacked. Like
Yeah.
there were protests, and
All right.
now
So,
all
let me.
these. Go ahead. Just let me just say one last thing. It's
Okay.
just there's all these what ifs, and it just feels like it's going to blow up in our face. So that's why I just don't foresee this going our way.
It may not. So I was explaining why I think they went. Y'all explain to me
I
how
didn't
it's
say why
going.
they went.
Yeah,
I
you
think why they
explain to me
went
how it's
is
going.
because Jeffrey Epstein had the goods on Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu blackmailed the president of the United States into doing their bidding. And we are basically the Hessian army at this point for
See,
rent to
I
either
don't
pays
buy.
us or bribes us. And Netanyahu's done it in the past. We now know that Netanyahu blackmailed Bill Clinton over the Monica Lewinsky thing. And if you don't think Jeffrey Epstein was some sort of foreign agent working with the Israelis, you have not been paying attention. And Benjamin Netanyahu almost certainly has got something on Donald Trump that he holds over his friggin' head. And I think Putin does too, and that's a different podcast altogether.
Oh,
No, I
wow.
just I just want to wrap up some thoughts, right?
All right.
Now I can't get into all the Epstein stuff because I'm like an evidence type of guy. Like if it's something that is like conspiracy, even if it has a strong possibility of being true, but I can't do nothing about it, I try not to waste my time on it. Like, it's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. And I always ask myself, like, what happens if you figure out a conspiracy? What do you do then? Like people say, we didn't land on the moon. I was like, okay, let's find out that we didn't land on the moon. Now what? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
We just know. Oh, okay, I don't have any interest in that, right? Now, it could be all those things that you said. I just posited my theory because I don't really know.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know. A lot of people got mixed messages. I don't know. I just try to thought like if it what to me seemed the most likely, but I see how it's going. Now, how this turns out, I have no idea. But one thing I do know about America and most of the world now is we don't have a stomach for war. We just don't. And if your population doesn't have a stomach for war, you're probably better off not going to war. Because if you go to war throughout history, you decimated your enemy. That meant killing a lot of people, destroying homes, burning. You went all the way. We don't have a stomach for that in modern day society. So I think diplomacy is usually always the best option if you can help it. But once you
Mm-hmm.
commit to war, you have to commit. And I don't think Americans have a stomach, even for a just war. I don't like if we had to do World War II over again today. I don't think Americans have the stomach of what we did in World War II.
I mean, if it were now for World War II, probably half the population would think it was a false flag, Pearl Harbor. To your point, here's what I think. Okay, so I'll get you. I didn't answer your question, so I'll answer it as quick as I can, real quick. I think the negotiations with Kushner and who was it, Wickoff.
Yep.
I think there was a misinterpretation about how close Iran was to having a bomb. I think Kushner and Wickoff were a little bit incompetent. I think the information was misinterpreted by Trump. And I think you combine that with the internal pressure from the Israelis, it just created a momentum that the strike's happening now. We can't do anything to rein in Israel. Like, we might as well go through with this. This is something we should do. And I think Trump is a very much a gut person. Like, he kind of weighs the evidence and then makes a gut decision. And all these things combined led him to do this, to sanction this attack.
I think just the opposite. I think Kushner and Witkoff went in because they didn't know what they were doing. And when they got concessions out of Iran, every concession that they wanted, and the decision had already been made that we're going into Iran, you go have these negotiations, and when they fail, we're going in. And they came back and they're like, they're not failing. They're giving us everything they want. And Trump said, before word gets out that they're giving you everything they want, we bomb now. That's what I think happened.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of like preactive violence. Like, I'm a big fan of that. Like, for example,
Preemptive?
Yeah, preemptive violence. Like before the Soviet Union got a nuclear weapon. Once we found out those motherfuckers was trying to build a nuclear weapon, we should have said, hey, if you keep trying to build a nuclear weapon, we're gonna nuke you. And if they would have kept trying to build a nuclear weapon, we would have nuked them. Now, I know some people's like, you can't do that. That's crazy. You can kill so many people and all that. But now we live in a world where multiple powers have nuclear weapons and people just sitting around with their finger on the button. We don't know how that could end up playing out. There were false flags that happened in the past that we luckily, it didn't turn out the wrong way. What I'm saying is, if I got a gun in your face and you're sitting there talking shit to me and I'm the one with the gun in your face, why do I have a gun unless I plan on using it? If you don't plan on using the gun, get the gun out of their face. We could destroy Iran. And Iran was sitting there talking big boy stuff. Like, yada, 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 yada. Now, it just so happened that we want to put the gun in their face, but we don't really want to pull that trigger.
Well, look, the bottom line is, and this is the message, or this is the lesson from Vietnam that they teach at West Point to this day, is that you can't win a war that's not yours to win.
Yeah.
And
you can
Vietnam wasn't our war to win.
We're just not willing to win it.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Americans don't
Iraq wasn't our war to win, and now Iran is not really our war to win. So
now
how do you win a war that's not yours to win?
No, we could win
it.
To see that. We could win it. Not like physically, we could win it. Are Americans ready to do what it takes to win it? I don't think we are. So why go to war?
You're starting to see this divergence right now. Like, obviously, the incentives are different for Israel because they're a regional enemy who has threatened destruction on them. Like, they want Israel off the map. So the Israelis' incentives in the war are different than ours. So to your point, Javier, I mean, Israelis probably have more of a need to see this through where we don't, because I think part of the reason is because the reasons for us going there, it's hard to articulate to an American how Iran is a threat. Yes, there were soldiers that were killed in Iraq. They have bombed embassies. But when you take that away from the mainland, like as a mainland threat to the United States, that's a different story. So I mean, this is why like it turns into a war of choice. Right?
I don't see why you should have to wait for somebody to become a threat to you to put them in a place. I don't understand
because it can go because it can go. We are assuming
once they can reach you, it's too late. Once
here's the thing.
Like, once a person can get you in their line of sight,
that's
too late.
The battle plan is dead the second the first shot is fired, because things go sideways constantly in war. It's Donald Rumsfeld said, it's the unknown unknowns. And that might have been a mocked line of his, but the fact of the matter is he was right. It's the unknown unknowns in war that prove to be a real problem. And because you don't know the unknowns, don't start the war if you don't have to.
Well, the unknown knowns too.
I'm gonna use an example. Y'all let me know if this is flawed. Let's say a kid goes to a school, and every day he's telling the security guard, "Man, look, I'm saving up enough money so when I buy this gun from my daddy, I can come up and shoot the school up." He telling the security guard every day, and the security guard like, "Well, when you get that gun, I'm gonna take you out. I'm gonna take you out." Why would I wait? Why would the security guard wait for the kid to finally buy the gun and bring the gun?
That's
to the
an individual circumstance as opposed to like a war between two nation states. Look,
it's a hypothetical. It's a
hypothetical, but I don't think it tracks because it's an individual situation versus a collective situation. Now, this is where I think you do have a point, and I have heard this argued that North Korea, we had a chance to strike them, and Bill Clinton decided not to. And some people have argued that they have now progressed to the point where they have nuclear capabilities that could potentially strike Hawaii or the Western United States. So that's why you have to take out Iran now, because they are to that point. You got to get them before they're a threat. Now, I believe I see the logic in that argument. The problem is like to Michael's point, the battle plan goes out the time the first shot is fired. And A war like this with
I'm trying to
so
figure
many
out
different
why that
actors and so many
matters.
different incentives built in,
And war is
there is
always
just no. But I think this is especially unique because of the time we're living in, the rise of other powers. Like, if you're going
is
to go to
Matt
war, you better
freezing
have
or
a
is he
good
He's
done?
plan about what
freezing.
you're doing and have stated out objectives about what you're going to do. And I have zero confidence that Hegseth and Trump know what they're fucking doing in this thing.
Well, let me ask you this, Matt. In what war, in what justification, let's say we were going to war and you felt justified to go to war. Does your
Okay.
argument still not stand that it can go all kind of ways?
Well, but there's a difference between like a hypothetical attack and an attack that actually happens. Like, to your point about Pearl Harbor, the Japanese attacked us. Yes, we forced them into a corner with the oil embargo, and they tried to do the same trick they did against Russia. But they attacked us. So at that point, yes, there are risks, but then the risks are more jeopardized because you have been attacked. You have to defend yourself. It's not
Yeah,
hypothetical anymore.
but it's even less controllable because now you're playing at the tune of them. They get to set the deck. Let's say
But they
Japan was
didn't.
planning way ahead of time on how things would go, and they had contingencies set up to after they bombed Pearl Harbor, they had a whole bunch of other stuff lined up. You don't know that. You're playing off, you're reacting off of the enemy, and the enemy could have so much stuff planned because they set the time, they set the moment. That's not smart either.
Well, let me tell you what's not smart, and then we'll wrap it up there, though, is that Matt pointed it out perfectly, which is that North Korea got the nuke, and now there's no chance of an invasion because they are nuclear power. Every one of our adversaries right now is learning that lesson. Gaddafi gave up his nuclear ambitions. He ended up with a bayonet up his ass and murdered on YouTube within a year of that. Saddam Hussein claimed to have weapons of mass destruction, and we went in and took him out. Everyone that says they want a nuke, if we take them out before they get the nuke and then wait till after. So Iran, if we pull out of this thing, you better believe they're going to start building a nuke, as is every one of our adversaries, because the only thing that keeps America from attacking is a nuclear bomb on an ICBM. So everyone's going to want that because that's the only insurance they have that America doesn't attack, which gets back to Samuel P. Huntington's Clash of Civilizations, which is a 20-year-old book now, where he said that ultimately he thought peace and prosperity would come from a pro-proliferation movement where everyone should have a nuke, because it's like you conservatives say about guns. An armed society is a polite society. Well, maybe a nuclear-armed world is a peaceful world. I don't know, but the lesson that we are teaching the world right now is get a nuke and get it quick. Yes. Otherwise,
the French are doing that too. Macron is basically arguing that for European security, they need to have a more muscular nuclear deterrent strategy against Russia.
Look, I hear that. Well, it's more peaceful amongst nations, but it's less peaceful within that country. Once a country has nuclear weapons, and nobody can come in and stop them from the human abuses that they commit.
You don't care about human abuses.
No, I'm saying
that's
from
the narrative. That's the Javier.
I'm talking from a political perspective on how the leaders are looking at it. Like, how if you were trying to lead a country, this is what you're thinking. Like, if a country like North Korea gets the nuclear weapon, they can do anything to their people, and there's nothing we can ever do about it. It don't matter if they decide to turn them all into slaves. There's nothing you can do at that point.
They've already done that. Well,
life in North Korea is absolutely miserable. North Korea has also a pretty effective cult of personality with the Kim. So it's not just a nuclear weapon.
It's not.
But just like we're about to, we're turning into North Korea with our cult of personality. Trump's putting himself on the money. Do you know the only other country in the world right now that has a living leader on the money is North Korea?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
gold coin.
I mean, again, I don't remember Slick Willie, Bill Clinton doing that.
Yeah,
with all his faults too.
I mean, I'm of the opinion, like I said, I don't believe that things always have to be good. I don't believe that we always have to be living in pleasure or, fruitful. I think sometimes struggle is a good thing. I think people build character when they go through stuff. Now, do they should go through stuff all the time? No. Do I want to see a child starving? I can do something about it? No, I'll do something, right? But this idea that we should always be moving towards the direction of peace and prosperity for everyone. It's like sometimes there are people out there you should hurt because they're trying to hurt you, or they are getting in the way of making the world a better place. I can come up with many ways for us to do some effed up stuff to people if that meant a better and brighter future. And a lot of times people assume that if you do the right thing and the morally just thing, that somehow leads to better prosperity. And sometimes it doesn't.
Well, look, I'm all 100% on the side of the people of Iran. I hope they overthrow their theocratic government because I am an anti-theist. to the core of my being. And I still believe that religion is a net negative. I'm not saying it's not all bad. I'm just saying when you add it all up, net negative. And I would say the theocratic states in the Middle East are evidence of that. And I'm going to leave it
Not
there
every
because,
religion is the same, though, Michael. Like,
huh?
not
Oh,
every religion is
French
the same.
goodbye. This is a French goodbye if there ever was one.
Look, I'm with you though. Like, I'm not a big fan of religion. I'm an atheist. You know that. But I've come to accept the fact that I think most people are religious even when they don't even think they are. People find something to believe in, and that can lead to all kind of different results. Now, just let's wrap it up here. This is your podcast. I keep forgetting this, not the Hobby Lobby, but I would say we should delve deeper into the whole
Yeah.
religious and
I hope it
political
is the
connection.
Javi Lobby. I
Yeah.
want more Javi Lobby.
Yeah.
And I hope you'll have me on a proper episode of the Javi Lobby. We're going to post this on both Regilio v Everything and on Javier's channel. And I hope there's more conversations coming like this because this was a good one. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I'll clip it and put some clips on my Instagram.